guys, welcome to Podcast Fandom Premium. I'm your host, Nina.
And I'm Kaylee.
And we are back to talk about the final 2 episodes of Season 1 of Alice in Borderland. We're going to be talking about episodes 7 and 8. And as we have mentioned before, this series did get Season 2 pickup, and I assume we're going to be covering it, and it'll be fresh because at that point, Donnie will not have seen it. Even though, for whatever reason, this man doesn't remember anything. I'd be explaining whole ass episodes and he'd just be like, ugh. So, but yeah, it's just me and Kaylee. We're going to be talking about episodes 7 and 8. So, what did you think of the reveals, the witch hunt, the journey into the tunnels, and the reveal of the bedding and all that stuff?
Some of it I saw coming.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there was a point where we were watching that episode and they were trying to figure out, who the witch is, and I'm like thinking to myself, they're burning all these bodies and the only body they're not burning is the girl that was dead since the beginning, so it's probably her.
Yeah, you did say that.
I was like proud of myself for getting that right.
Mm-hmm.
And also the whole bedding thing, because like you were like, I remember we were watching this and you were like, I hope it's just not another Squid Game situation where it's just a bunch of people with too much money being terrible. And I was like, I could see that.
Yeah.
But it was like kind of that and also kind of not that.
Right, because the people who were betting, those were also people playing the game.
Yeah.
Right, they were also like, if they lost, it was more than just like losing money. Like they were betting like their Visa days, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. Yeah, I absolutely loved it. My favorite episode of probably the entire season. Well, never mind. I was going to say episode 7, but 3 with the wolf.
Friends.
Yeah. But a close second would be episode 7 for the reveal of Kuina. Is a trans woman. That was great. It's so well done. And it makes you like seeing their story. It makes you like root for the character even more. Like, especially because like they had her against the tattooed weirdo with the sword. So you're already rooting for her over him, even though she was part of the Cheshire Cat's plan to set up Arisu. But still, you're rooting for her. But then when you see her backstory, it just made it. And it was just a really good fight scene too. Like, it was believable. Like, she's super, like, small-framed, but it was absolutely believable that she could kick his ass. So, that was probably my favorite. That was definitely my favorite thing of the whole series, that scene and that reveal, the way it was done, which we'll talk about in a second. All right, so let's do it. Let's put this season to bed. Episode 7 begins with accusations and chaos. And the first one accused is her friend. What's her name? Hold on. Asashi? It was Momoka and Asashi. Yeah, so Asashi's the first one accused. And then, we talked about this later. When they're like, well, because one guy is like, wait a minute. Y'all were always together. And then when she dies, she gets murdered. You mean to tell me this is the time that y'all weren't together? So they start accusing her. And they're going to throw her in the fire alive. Like, just... And the person who stops that from happening is one of the girls who was with the Hatter, like up at one of the executives, with the black crop top and yeah, not the CSI girl, the other one. And then so when we see later who she is, it's interesting that she stepped in to stop them from killing the girl who it turns out was a dealer in the game. Yeah. So they're first going to throw her ass in the fire, and they don't. And then it just basically becomes, and they learn that the Hatter was killed because outside of the militants and the executives, no one knew it. So they tell everybody that the Hatter was murdered. And I think they bring, she has his bot in the, I never got her name, but I keep calling her the CSI girl. Because she worked in forensics in the police, in Tokyo the police. Yeah. But she takes the bullet out of the Hatter's body and I guess is gonna, be able to tell. Because, like, I'm thinking, like, well, it would depend because I think when one of the things she had asked when they brought his body back in the previous episode was, did his game involve guns?
Yeah.
Right? Because typically you would think either whatever mechanism the game had would kill them or the laser from the sky. Yeah. So anyway, she's investigating. You're going to call the CSI the beach. And then we learned that the freaking tattooed bald ninja guy, he's like on the walkie-talkie with the kid with like the Uzi, who's very pretty, by the way. Him and the Cheshire Cat guy are so cute. What is that beeping? Is that outside or is that
like a car alarm?
Oh, okay. He sets a fire in one of the buildings in the resort and then encounters Kuina and the CSI girl as they're headed, because she goes and gets supplies. She's like, oh, I'm gonna like lift the fingerprints from the knife.
I remember this scene where they like the two girls, they came across each other, Kuina and the CSI girl, and I was like, Kuina seems very suspicious here. Like, I don't know how I was expecting her to try to like sabotage her.
Yeah.
That's just what it seemed like.
Yeah.
But then like the guy with the sword came.
So sorry, we heard something fall in the next room. We don't know if we should be yelling at the dog or Donnie. Go ahead.
Oh, what would they say?
Does she seem suspicious?
Yeah, and then the guy with the sword came along and she's like, I'll take him. And I'm like, oh.
Oh, yeah. And we're just like, what the hell you mean? You're like 45 pounds. What are you going to do? He's crazy. So yeah, so she takes him on. And this is what I was talking about, like the way it was revealed. They're fighting. And at first, it wasn't even like fighting. It was more her dodging his attacks, and she was really good at it. I love it. It started in the hallway, and he was like, "Excuse you." Sorry.
He'll lay next to me, but he doesn't want me to.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Our dog is just weird. So she, it starts in the hallway, and she's like dipping and dodging, and she kicks off those sandals that she's wearing. And so he asks, "What did you do?" It like goes into like this lounge or club or restaurant, or whatever. He's like, "What did you do before?" And she was like, I was a clerk in a record store. You? And then the flashback begins. So you think it's his story, or they kind of wanted you to. And so you see him train a little boy. You see a little boy training with their father in karate, right? And later you see that same little boy putting on lipstick, and the father like, yeah, you're not a girl. I think
that's when I realized it.
Yes, same. Yes, when you see the right. But I've watched people react to it. They don't get it. I showed you one. They don't get it until even when it comes back on her face, like it goes from the past to them leaving the house, and then that, and yeah.
I want to say, like, even before like the lipstick scene, I was like, whose flashback is this? It'd be interesting if it was Kuina's, and it turns out Kuina is trans. And I'm like, but would the show do that? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know anything about the show, like, when it came out or anything.
Yeah, last year. Or 2020.
So I was like, Jesus Christ. Why is your fur all wet? Anyways.
Either the end of 2019 or early 2020.
So I was like, I don't know if the show would, like, go that direction, if they would be that, like, inclusive. And it was. I was pleasantly surprised. I was like, oh, nice.
So, yeah, the first reveal is just her being kicked out of the house. And then it comes back. And then we saw that her father, when was training her, he was like, never hesitate to get in the final blow. And it was after, like, that memory that they started seriously fighting back, as opposed to, like, dodging all of his attacks and stuff. And then at one point, because she's barefoot, he was purposely like breaking glass on the floor. Yeah. And so at one point, she remembers visiting her mother in the hospital, clearly dressed as a girl, and the mother being like, "You came back and you're beautiful." And I was like, oh, thank God the mother wasn't an asshole. Oh. And so it was like between that, like these two memories, she ends up defeating him, but she doesn't kill him, as it turns out, because we see him like burning to death later, right? Yeah. But we also get his backstory. He was basically like a shut-in, and he was like writing all these like blog posts that nobody was reading. Do you notice that there's like no views, no comments? He's just putting out that content, writing about what was he like? Oh yeah, wasn't he writing about like some sort of adventure or like to climb Mount Everest? He was talking about somebody who had attempted to climb Mount Everest, like just facts about a climber.
Like,
oh my God.
Dad.
Oh my God. It just like, you know what? So as I was saying it to you, I was like, are you mixing up your shows, Nina? Is she going to be like, no, that was Goblin. Because I remember making a joke about he used an oxygen tank when we were watching something.
Yeah.
And I'm like, was it that? But do you think that he was right? But the photos in his blog post were like old black and white photos. So I thought it was like, and I don't even know if it was a Japanese name.
I don't even remember at all what he was writing about.
Yeah, it was just something about someone like, and you know, he was talking about like his life philosophy. I wish I'd like remembered better. But basically, like his room, like he was just basically a shut-in. And like he lived at home because I think one of his siblings like knocks on the door and is like, Mom left your food here for you, whatever. So when he got into the game, he shaved off all of his hair and he found someone who used to be a tattoo artist in the real world to put those tattoos all over him. So while all this chaos is going on, because the militants are just killing everybody, just hunting down people and killing them. They're searching Usagi and the guy with the hat and Asashi and Joe are looking for. And the only reason I know Joe's name is because when Joe dies,
it's like Joe,
the guy with the hat.
Joe,
okay. Poor Joe. Walking around in swim trunks, just trying to be a good person. But yeah, they're searching for Arisu, and he dies. And we learned that we see that the other militant kid was, he's outside sniping people. Mm-hmm. He's like, drive them outside, and he's like, target practice. We learned that he was bullied in school. But really, like, it's so weird, because it's like, why did they even bother to give him that bullshit quick little backstory? Because then he died. So it's like, him and the shut-in. It just felt like...
They didn't even, like, redeem him. He still continued to be really terrible,
yes,
too.
Yes.
Like, even before he died.
Yes.
So, literally, he went out being terrible.
Oh, speaking of which, because I don't know if I have it... Oh, no, I said the sniper guy was bullied, and he's killed by the Cheshire Cat. So, I thought he was, anyway, at this point at this episode.
I love how you're calling him just the Cheshire Cat.
The Cheshire Cat, man. He's a little sneaky little bastard. He encounters Homeboy, and his name starts with... an A as well, and so I was just worried that I was mixing him up with the head of the militants, who I'm going to talk about a lot in the next episode. And so, but anyway, yeah, he encounters him on the roof, and he had like this, what are these homemade gadgets? He had like a Walkman / taser, and this was like a super soaker / flamethrower, yeah. And he burned him up, but he like got his attention by flicking all the cards, the playing cards in the air. It was so anime. It was shot very anime, like the cards coming down in slow motion. Nico, please stop breathing into the mic. So they finally rescue Arisu, and he uses his big brain, and he's like, oh, I figured it out. And so does the CSI girl, because she lifts the prints from the knife, and she's like, oh, I knew it, but then somebody like hits her or something. And then we get our one little flashback that leads into episode 8, leads into like kind of the main conflict of episode 8, is that the head of the militants, who I have, his name is Arigu. And so it's like so close to Arisu. And I swear, I'm going to go look this up before the podcast is done. I swear the kid up on the roof's name is similar. And shows typically don't do that.
I have a bunch of characters for the same name.
With very similar, yeah. Like even like, tells you like as a writer.
Ajin.
Yes. K and Kai and I. That's right, Ko. We did get that kid. That's so annoying. And as a writer, they tell you just don't do. You're going to confuse your. It's just annoying. But anyway, unless it means something, like it's on purpose, right? But anyway, we learned that he, the head of the militant, and again, I have his name is Arigu, was friends with the Hatter in real life. And it's like a flashback to basically if I remember correctly, the conversation was that the Hatter, because we knew he had that business, and then he ends up having to go back and run his father's hat shop. I think his father died or something like that.
Yeah.
And so, and it was like, oh, the Hatter and the hat shop. Okay, and then at least they gave us a reason, because in the context of the Borderland games, it made no sense that they were calling him the Hatter.
Yeah. It just seemed like very out of nowhere, and it was
right.
like throwing in your face, he's the Mad Hatter.
Right. For us, it made sense, kind of, because we're looking for those things, but in universe, like, why were they calling him that? Now we know why. So then in episode 8, so this episode kind of begins like how the Matrix begins, where it's just like a screen in universe, like a computer monitor or some sort in universe, and then like you see all this code come up, and it says something like, I think it said like Borderlands and something connected, and then it pulls back and you see it's like a cell phone. It looked like, or you see her holding her cell phone, taking the video, or about to take the video. So because of that, I was like, oh, they remember us. They're in on it. Like because why else would they have a connection thing like that? But then I was like, no, because she just seemed like she was doing the same thing that, what's his name? Chota did. Right.
Just taking the video.
But then she said, we came here. Well, she said something like that, like it made me feel like they had been to other places, because there's like, this is Tokyo, the so-and-so district of Tokyo. It's also deserted. This town is deserted too, or something like that. And I remember just thinking the use of the word town kind of threw me off, because when I think town, yes, I think of smaller, like not as cosmopolitan or urban. But anyway, so then she says, he brought us here. We're going to work for him now. So you're thinking the Hatter. But it also kind of felt like
they weren't wearing swimsuits. So
right. It was so weird. They had like school uniforms. And then they went down, the girl who was dead. And I'm sorry, I'm talking about Momoko and Asashi, right. Momoko goes down into the train station, and it's like pitch dark, and she's like, are you really going down there? And she doesn't really say much either. Yeah. You can tell like she was her.
Yeah. I remember she's like calling her name like a bunch of, she sounds very frantic,
and we find out like later, like she was like, she just couldn't do this shit anymore. Like the stuff that they were, being involved in doing. We find out later they're like setting up, like pretending to be in games and like causing people to die, and so back in present day, the militants gather everybody, like they all end up back in the lobby, and they're gonna the leader Arigu tells them to just kill everybody. And at this point, Arisu says, I know who the witch is. And we're waiting for the reveal. And it felt like they were going to say that it was Arigu. And then he actually confesses to being, right? But as he's beating the shit out of Arisu is like, no, this is a hearts game. And a hearts game just fucks with you. Like it's like a personal, or it's like it means something. It wasn't just you trying to kill him for power. And what we learn is through another flashback was that the Hatter basically just was drunk on his own shit. Like he was just the worst. And he's, it comes to a head when Arigu finds him in one of the rooms. He murdered a bunch of people who had been hiding cards from him. And that's how he came up with rule number 3.
Death to traitors.
Death to traitors. And so at this point, Arigu is using the militants to kill everybody, and because he blames the game for turning his friend. And we later learn that he confronted, when we see that how he died, it was like kill or be killed, but as it turns out, the Hatter's gun was empty. Mm-hmm. Like he did it on purpose. Like it's like, that's just such a fucked up way to people who do that, like cause other people to be the cause of their death. Like ugh. So, but then Arisu reveals that it was Momoko herself, as does CSI Girl, who's like, it was like a reverse grip on the knife. And she did that shit with like tape, super glue, and a hot lamp, and some powdered sugar from the kitchen to dust the prints. Like, she came up with this budget shit. And it worked. It worked. So, and then, so, like, there's still, like, all this panic because they're like, okay, sorry about that. What was I going to say? Oh, the CSI stuff, right? Mm-hmm. She figured it out. And they had just enough time, like, because it was like they were running out of time, right? Because they had to burn the correct person, and the game wasn't stopping because they were like killing everybody, killing each other, burning bodies, and the game is not stopping. And so when the militants are going to start shooting everybody again, Asashi says, "Don't worry, I can distract them, get them to stop. Hurry and throw her body into the fire to stop the game." She stands up and she says, "I'm the dealer of this game."
And she immediately dies.
Immediately.
And it was like, I just didn't see it coming because she didn't seem like she had to know she was gonna die, but she didn't seem like she knew
right
she was gonna die. She was just so like quick to do it.
Yeah, I mean, maybe she didn't expect them to kill her that way. Maybe she thought like she'd get in trouble, like they, you know what I mean? I don't know. But, and then the freaking guy who got burned alive is not dead. He comes back shooting. And you and I feel like, I think we came down on different sides of this. At the end of it, like, everything sets on fire. And, at the end of it, does Arigu stay and die too?
The last we see of him is him tackling the guy
into the fire.
So I guess we're to assume he's dead.
Yeah.
If it's one of those off-screen deaths, it could be, maybe he'll come back.
Right.
If it's like not 100%.
And the tattooed head guy, definitely. He was just sitting there like
accepting it.
Mm-hmm. He was like, I deserve this. This is what I deserve. And then, so the ending is basically, Arisu found Asashi's phone, and he watched the video, and it was basically her explaining everything and like secretly taking video of going into the
monitor room.
Yeah, kind of control room in the tunnels of the subway station. And it turns out that's what the map, that scribbling that the Cheshire Cat found was that subway map. Which we had said it looked like a map, like a crudely, quickly drawn map. Yeah, and so they are congratulated, the four of them. So it's Usagi, Arisu, Kuina, Chishia, and the long-haired girl reveals herself to be a part of the game, and their reward is more games. But now they're playing for the face cards. Yeah. So what happened to... Well, we just see them go, but like, oh yeah, there was a bunch of them all together watching the place burn. Yeah, so the
people who survived at the beach.
Yeah. Was that dark-haired, long-haired girl there with them? I want to go back and check that.
Standing in that crowd?
Mm-hmm. I wonder.
I don't think so.
But like the CSI girl was there, and there was one guy, like they realized we killed all those people for not, you know, and so he was going to kill himself, but he had no more bullets. It's like, nope, you got to live with this.
What about that other guy that was like the executive? What happened to him again? He had glasses.
I don't know.
The third one.
Oh yeah, he was there. He was there.
But like, I don't remember what the last we saw of him.
He was standing there, staring at the fire.
Okay.
Watching the place burn. I don't remember. I'm wondering, like, so those people are going to be in season 2, right? Mm-hmm. Because
they have to be.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know why it felt like at the end it was those like blimps with the face cards hanging from it, and I don't know. I don't know why I figured they'd be somewhere different, but that doesn't make sense. So, anyway, all in all, really great series.
Yes.
I'm glad we watched it.
I told you this after we finished that first season. I looked up the graphic novel.
Ah, right.
And I started reading it. I didn't get too far, only read like a few pages actually, but there's already like a lot of differences. The the main three, they're high schoolers instead of in college.
Oh, that's right. You told me that.
Or not even in college, but like they're not adults.
Yeah, but Karube. Well, I'm thinking of Kurapika from Hunter x Hunter. You said he owned the bar though that he worked at.
Yeah, he's a dropout
in the manga or a graphic novel.
Yeah.
So, is it a graphic novel or a manga? Or
they call it a graphic novel, but I mean, it looks like
reads like a manga and everything.
Yeah.
Okay. So, speaking of which, our next international drama that we're covering to replace this is Sweet Home.
Mm-hmm. Which also has a
graphic novel. Yes, that's right. As did Hellbound.
Mm-hmm.
But
the person who wrote Sweet Home also did something else that you know, but I don't remember.
Why do I feel like I know what you're talking about? Let me see. Who wrote Sweet Home?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm looking it up. I know, it's listening to somebody Google.
There's no visuals.
So it's written by Kim Carnby.
Yes.
And
I've read a bit of their stuff. They have one called I think Shotgun Boy or something. I just read a bit of that. They have one called Pigpen, I think. I haven't read that, but I heard about it.
Well, okay.
Is there not a list of all the stuff here?
Nope, it's just is all about them. So Kim Carnby
works, books,
Sweet Home. They're basketball. Yeah, I don't
search Anime Planet. It might have a list of their works.
No, Shotgun Boy, Pigpen, and Bastard.
Okay.
Sweet Home.
Okay, no. Maybe I'm thinking of, like, I was reading this, and I'm like, the person...
And this technically wouldn't even be a manga, right? That's a
manhwa.
Manhwa.
So
it's
a
Korean.
Oh, wait, I think I read this, too.
Really?
Yeah.
So you're probably going to know some of it.
Not Sweet Home. The first one.
That's not Sweet Home? What is that? Hure Jashik. Ooh.
It's about a guy who's...
Bastard, by the way. That's what that means.
It's about a guy whose dad is a serial killer, I think.
Ooh, that sounds good.
And he hates his dad.
I mean,
I think that's what it is, at least.
But yeah, so that is the next international drama that's replacing this. It's on Netflix. I don't know if it got a second season. I don't know if it even wanted a second season. I know nothing about it. I don't know what it's about. I know it's Korean, and I'm excited to watch it. So, we'll be back with the first 2 episodes of that next week. Kaylee and I are also continuing and almost done with Goblin, and we're super excited because as we talk about this, we are mere moments away
from the next Attack on Titan.
Yes!
It's tomorrow.
Oh my god, I'm not ready.
First episode of that last half of the season.
I'm not ready. And we are doing that alongside of, don't worry, we're not making you wait until Hunter x Hunter is done. We are doing that like immediately. So, thank you guys for listening, and we will talk to you next time.